presentation tournament. He graduated with a major in English, and his career began right after high school graduation. He was hired as the head coach for the freshman team and assistant for the varsity at Rutgers University. After being head coach for different universities like North Carolina University and winning the NCAA National Basketball Championship, he became an ABC ESPN sports commentator. Jim Bobano was a dreamer, a motivator, and a fighter until his last day. He was diagnosed with terminal cancer in June of 1992. He was very passionate about his career and about his foundation for finding a cure for cancer. He died weeks after his acceptance speech at the ESPY Awards in 1993. And now that I've told you a little about Jimmy B, now we're gonna tell you about why we chose him and why he inspires us.
So all you have to do is hear his last speech to know that he had an incredible talent when it came to talking to a large audience. He had an undeniable passion for life, and in his speech, his last speech, although it was an acceptance speech, he turned it into a persuasive speech almost. He had, main points, or 3 main points, a conclusion, and an introduction. And so he was an inspiration not only to our group, but to all the people that he spoke to. His ESPY Awards acceptance speech was given weeks before he passed away, as we already went over, but you wouldn't have known it watching him speak. He had so much energy that you would have thought that he was as healthy as any of us in this room. So I have a little clip so you can see a part of his speech, so you can get an idea of what we're talking about.
To think about what's important in life is to think, to me, of 3 things: where you started, where you are, and where you're going to be. Those are the 3 things that I try and do every day. When I think about getting up and giving a speech, I can't help it. I have to remember the first speech I ever gave. I was coaching at Rutgers University. That was my first job. That's wonderful. And I was the freshman coach. That's when freshmen played on freshman team. And I was so fired up about my first job. As usual, Coach Holtz said, what was it like the first job you had, right? The very first time you stood in the locker room to give a pep talk. That's a special place, the locker room, for a coach to give a talk. So my idol as a coach was Vince Lombardi. And I read this book called Commitment to Excellence by Vince Lombardi. And in the book, Lombardi talked about the first time he spoke before his Green Bay Packer team in the locker room. They were perennial losers. And I'm reading this, and Lombardi said he was thinking it should be a long talk, a short talk, but he wanted to be emotional. He said be brief. And this is what he did. Normally you get in the locker room, 25 minutes, a half hour before the team takes the field. You do your little X and O, and you give the great new Rockney talk. We all do. Speech number 84. You pull them right out. You get ready. Get your squad ready. This is the first one I ever gave. And I read this thing, Lombardi, what he said was, he didn't go in. He waited. His team was wondering, where is he? Where is this great guy? He's not there. 10 minutes. He's still not there. 3 minutes before they take the field, Lombardi comes in, bangs the door open, and I think you all remember what great presence he had, right? Great presence. He walked in, he just walked back and forth like this, just walked, staring at the players. And he said, all eyes on me. I'm reading this in this book, and I'm getting a picture of this Lombardi before his first game. He said, gentlemen, we will be successful this year. You can focus on 3 things and 3 things only: your family, your religion, and the Green Bay Packers. And the rest of it, they knocked the walls down. The rest was history. I said, that's beautiful. I'm going to do it. Your family, your religion, and Rutgers basketball. That's it. I had it. Listen, I'm 21 years old. The kids I'm coaching are 19. All right? And I'm going to be the greatest coach in the world, the next Lombardi. And I'm ready. And I'm practicing out right inside the locker room. The manager told me, you got to go in. Not yet. Family, religion, Rutgers basketball. All eyes on me. I got it. And now finally he said, 3 minutes. I said, fine. True story. I go to knock the doors open, just like the buddy. Boom! He didn't know. I almost broke my arm. I was like, it was one of the, now I'm down, the players are looking, coach, help the coach up, help him up, And now I did like Lombardi, I walked back and forth, right? And I was going like that, my arm gets the feeling back in it. And finally I said, gentlemen, all eyes on me. These kids wanted to play, they're 19, let's go. I said, gentlemen, we'll be successful this year if you can focus on 3 things and 3 things only. That your family, your religion, and the Green Bay Packers, I told them. I did that. I remember that. I remember where I came from. It's so important to know where you are. And I know where I am right now. How do you go from where you are to where you want to be? And I think you have to have an enthusiasm for life. You have to have a dream, a goal. You have to be willing to work for it. I talked about my family. My family is so important. People that I have.
All right, so we saw a little bit about his speech. Let's go over communication concepts and his legacy.
Okay, I will be telling you about his legacy and his communication concepts. His legacy, of all things, is not going to be about being a coach. It was his passion, it's what drove him, but it's not what he's going to be remembered for. He's going to be remembered for how much he loved people and how much he always let them know it. People always came first in his life, and he always made sure they knew it. He changed the way we view cancer. He viewed the way we donate money to cancer. His foundation, the V Foundation, was started in 1992 when he found out he was diagnosed for cancer. It still today is thriving, very strong. It's raised millions of dollars for cancer and cancer research. And as she said, he didn't realize that it was only a few weeks before he was going to die, but he knew he was going to die any day. And the speech always gets me because as a speaker, I know I'm more of a speaker than as a coach. And he knew it was his last opportunity to ever be able to inspire people. So I think that's why when you watch those clips and you hear what he says, you can tell it's coming from someplace deep and someplace very sincere, which leads me to his communication concepts. Persuasive speech. Any speech he gave was persuasive, because by the time the man was done, whatever he said, you knew he was coming from his heart. And as Professor Hassan has referenced his own motivation when it comes to anything he teaches us or tells us, he has our goodwill at heart. So does Jimmy Balana. And you can tell whenever he's telling you something that it's because he cares. And that's the only reason he's even speaking. His other communication concept would be inspirational. Because listening to that man, when he's done talking to you, you are inspired. I know I was inspired, and I've never played a basketball game in my life. Okay, but I love listening to this man because when he's done, he does inspire you, and he inspires you to be something good. He inspires nothing but goodness for you to do whatever you're supposed to do that's right for you. So he definitely has an inspirational concept to anything he says and does. And his last communication concept was chronological. Okay, it was chronological because he said you should always be aware every day of where you start, where you're at, and where it is you want to go. So in other words, he was very good at keeping you grounded, keeping you focused, okay, which is a lot of what we've learned here in this speech class, which I want to tie in, because you notice every time Professor Hassan has us up here for our 1-minute speeches, it's because he's trying to help us narrow down our topic so that we don't end up here rambling aimlessly. So with that, I'm going to conclude with...
I can show one more clip of the end of his speech, which was very moving.
And its motto is, don't give up, don't ever give up. And that's what I'm going to try to do. Every minute that I have left, I will thank God for the day, for the moment I have. And if you see me, smile and maybe give me a hug, because that's important to me too. But try, if you can, to support, whether it's AIDS or the Cancer Foundation, so that someone else might survive, might prosper, and might actually be cured of this dreaded disease. I can't thank ESPN enough for allowing this to happen, and I'm going to work as hard as I can, for cancer research, and hopefully maybe we'll have some cures and some breakthroughs, and I'd like to think, I'm going to fight my brains out to be back here again next year for the Arthur Ashe recipients. I want to give it next year. I know I gotta go. I've got to go, and I've got one last thing. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul. And those three things are going to carry on forever. I thank you, and God bless you all.
Why he inspired us and why we chose him. And lastly, we talked about his legacy and his communication concept. So before I completely finish, I want to remind you all that every time you feel discouraged or not motivated, just remember, in the words of Jimmy Valvano, don't give up, don't ever give up. Thank you.
Thank you.